How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we send Daf Memches, Daf 48 of Masechta Nazir. Friends, Daf 48 discusses how we know that a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, respectively, are able to become Tameh to a mitzvah. Right? Because in general, a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir are unable to become Tameh even to their relatives. But they can become Tameh to a mitzvah. As we discussed yesterday, if you have a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol walking together, and there's a mitzvah, so then which one of them should be the one to become Tameh? So we're going to continue on that sugya of Nazirs and Kohen Gadol's becoming Tameh to a mitzvah. And I think we'll probably end up doing half of Daf Mem Tes. Although I must be honest, I'm shtickle babble yoni. Hopefully it won't be too big of a deal. Alright. So, we're going to start on Daf... you can see a little bit behind me my sunflower guy costume. You see, I made a whole sunflower. Yeah. I made a whole sunflower so I could be a sunflower guy. Alright. Fine. I'll be a sunflower guy. Alright. Alright, well, we're going to start off from Zayin and Beis. I don't know, like 10 lines from the bottom or so. Ad kan lo plige ele b'kohen gadol v'nazir ki ka'azle ba'de adadi. Ho ho. So up until now, we've only seen truth is, the Mishnah did start off by saying kohen gadol v'nazir mitam l'kovena v'mitam l'mitzvah. So, I mean, the Mishnah did start off by saying that a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir are each able to become Tameh to mitzvah, but up until now the discussion of the Gemara has been around, if they're walking together, so then which one of them should become Tameh. But how do we know that individually, right? How do I know that a Nazir could become Tameh, is allowed to become Tameh to mitzvah, or that a Kohen Gadol is allowed to become Tameh to mitzvah? So I can't obligate. Up until now in the discussions in the Gemara, it's Ele b'Kohen Gadol v'Nazir ki ka'azle ba'adei adadei. Only when a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir are walking tzuzamen, are walking together. Aval chad l'chudei bar itmuye inun. But at the same time, if you have a Nazir walking by himself, or a Kohen Gadol walking by himself, and each one respectively encounters a mitzvah, how do I know that a Kohen Gadol by himself or a Nazir by himself would become Tameh to bury the mitzvah? Immediately, how do we know this? The Tana Rabbanon, as we learn in a Brisa, we're going to start off with the Kohen Gadol. Al kol nafshos meis lo yavo, that a Kohen Gadol does not become Tameh to people. What's the pasuk talking about when it says that he doesn't become Tameh to people? If it's talking about people in general, right? A regular Tom, Dick, and Harry dies. So is the pasuk saying that the Kohen Gadol cannot become Tameh to that Tom, Dick, and Harry? Well, we can learn that out logically. Well, a Kohen Hedjit, the regular Kohen, is allowed to become Tameh if an immediate relative passes away. And yet, a Kohen Hedjit cannot become Tameh for a regular Tam, Dick, and Harry who passes away. Kohen Gadol she'enu mitameh l'krovim, a Kohen Gadol who is not allowed to become Tameh for immediate relatives who pass away, enu din she'enu mitameh l'chokim, then certainly it's obvious, it goes without saying, that a Kohen Gadol is unable to become Tameh to Tom, Dicks, and Harrys. Ella b'krov makosum v'daber. So therefore, it must be that when the pasuk says by Kohen Gadol, al kol nafshos meis lo yavo, that he doesn't become Tameh for any dead people. So it's not talking about Tom, Dicks, and Harrys, because even a Kohen Hedjit doesn't become Tameh to Tom, Dicks, and Harrys. So rather, it must be that pasuk by Kohen Gadol is talking about El B'Krov Makosum Medaber. It must be that what the pasuk is saying is that the Kohen Gadol is unable. Right, that is where the Torah is teaching us that a Kohen Gadol is unable to become Tameh even for immediate relatives. Ula'aviv hu de'enu mitame or mitame u'lemis mitzvah. So now, if that's the case, that from al kol nafshos meis lo yavo, we know that a kohen gadol is unable to become tameh for immediate relatives. So then why do I need it to say la'aviv? Okay, his father's an immediate relative. He can't become tameh to his father. So why does it say la'aviv? So la'aviv hu de'enu mitame, he doesn't become tameh to his father, ha mitame u'lemis mitzvah, but he does become tameh to a mitzvah. So that's how we see that a kohen gadol can become tameh to a mitzvah. Ule'imo, and what do we do with le'imo? What do we do with, right? The pasuk says le'imo. What do we learn out from there? Right? Again, we already know that you can't become tameh to immediate relatives from al kol nafshos meis lo yavo. So why does it say le'imo? L'gzeira shava l'chdi Rebbe. Le'imo is available to learn gzeira shava, like Rebbe says. The Tanya, Rebbe Omer says, Rebbe in a brayse, gabi Nazir, that it says by a Nazir, by Nazir, b'mosam. What does the pasuk say by Nazir? Koyme azir la'Hashem al nefesh meis lo yavo, lo v'limo la'achav la'chos lo yitamad lo'im b'mosam. He can't become tameh to them when they're gesturbim, when they're dead. B'mosam einu mitame, so he doesn't become tameh for them when they're gesturbin. Aval mitameh l'nigam l'zivasam. So by a Nazir, he cannot become tameh to his relatives when they die. So if they die, he cannot become tameh to them. But what if they're not dead? What if they're alive, but they're a mitzora or they're a zav? Now, a mitzora or an azav is mitameh people. So is it forbidden for a Nazir to become tameh from a mitzora or from a zav? So we say no. It says b'mosam ein mitameh, right? You can't become tameh to masames, but ziva, tzaras, that would be okay. A mitzora, that would be okay. Ve'en li ela b'nazir. Okay, fine. So I only know this by a nazir, right? This pasuk of b'mosam is specifically by a nazir. B'kohen gadol minayin. How do I know that a kohen gadol as well? It says that he can't become tameh to his immediate relatives. But how do I know that that's specifically talking about tumas hames? But that mitzora or ziva would be okay? Omar lo yomar imo b'kohen gadol she'ein talmud lomar. So we say, well, it says by a kohen gadol imo, his mother, which is, there's no reason why he needs to say imo. Sharei kal v'chomer, because after all, it's a kal v'chomer. What's the kal v'chomer? Well, umayim b'makom shekohen hedget mitami la'ochiv mei oviv ein kohen gadol mitami la'oviv. Makom she'ein kohen hedget mitami la'ochiv mei imo and udin she'ein kohen gadol mitami la'imo. Wow. Im zachisim e'adin matamulomar imo b'kohen gadol mufna la'okish v'lodun imenu gzeir shave nemar imo b'nazir v'nemar imo b'kohen gadol ma'imo amr b'nazir b'mosam enu mitame av mitame l'nigam l'zivasam afimo amr b'kohen gadol b'mosam enu mitame av mitame l'nigam l'zivasam. Wow. Pam param 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 param. Okay, so basically, the pasuk by kohen gadol does not need to say imo, his mother. By kohen gadol doesn't need to say his mother. Why doesn't he need to say by his mother? Well, because we already know that a kohen gadol is not allowed to become tameh to his father. And if he's not allowed to become tameh to his father, so then obviously it cannot become tameh to his mother. How come? Well, because there's more of a reason to think that he would be able to become tameh to his father than to think that he'd be able to become tameh to his mother. How come? Well, because it's a shtickle yavamasi, but without getting too yavamasi, a kohen hedget is allowed to become tameh to his brother from his father, but he's not allowed to become tameh to his brother from his mother. So now, here's the kal v'chomer. If by a kohen hedget he can become tameh to his brother from his father, and yet, even so, even though he can become tameh to his brother from his father, even so, a kohen gadol cannot become tameh to his own father. But a kohen hedget can become tameh to his brother from his father, certainly to his own father, But a Kohen Gadol can't even become Tameh to his own father. Well, by a Kohen Hedjit, who's unable to become Tameh to his brother from his mother, well then certainly by a Kohen Gadol, he'd be unable to become Tameh to his mother. Right? Meaning, if a Kohen Gadol cannot become Tameh to his own father, which is a more sort of lenient, let's say, case, in that a Kohen Hedjit would be able to become Tameh to his brother from his father, so sort of the father side of things is more sort of Tameh friendly, so to speak, because a Kohen Hedjit could become Tameh to his brother from his father, and yet a Kohen Gadol cannot become Tameh to his father. Well then certainly, with regard to a Kohen Gadol becoming Tameh to his mother, certainly that's out of the question, because the mother is more sort of stringent when it is less Tameh friendly, right? The mother's side of the family is less Tameh friendly because a Kohen Hedjit is unable to become Tameh to his brother from his mother. So therefore, when it comes to the fathers, right, the father where sort of the father is more Tumah friendly, and even so, the Kohen Gadol cannot become Tameh to his father, certainly to his mother who's less Tumah friendly, the Kohen Gadol would not be able to come Tameh. And therefore I don't need the pasuk to say by Kohen Gadol Imo, because I can know it from this Kal V'chomer. So why does it say Imo? Well, it seems to be extra, it seems to be available to an Gzeir Shava, that it says Imo by Kohen Gadol, and it says Imo by Nazir, just like by Nazir, it's only an issue of Tumas HaMeis, but Ziva and Mitzora would be okay. So Oichet, by Kohen Gadol, it's only a matter of Tumas HaMeis, but Ziva and Mitzora would be okay. So let's read that inside now. So third line of the Gemara. Ve'eni ela b'nazir. All I know is that by a Nazir, we say that he can become Tameh for for Ziva and Tzaras. Fine, but Kohen Gadol minayin. How do I know that this is the same thing by Kohen Gadol as well? That it's only Tumas HaMeis, but not I don't know, say Negia and Ziva, Nuga, Negia, Noga, Negoyim, and Ziva. Fine. Omart, well, Lo Yomar Imo b'Kohen Gadol. Well, because there really is no reason to write Imo by Kohen Gadol. She'ein Talmud Lomar, She'ei Kal V'chomer. I can learn it out logically. Umayin b'makum she'Kohen Hedjit mitamei le'achiv me'aviv. If when it comes to a Kohen Hedjit, when it comes to the father's side of the family, which is more Tumah friendly, and in that a Kohen Hedjit is able to become Tameh to his brother from his father, and yet in Kohen Gadol mitamei le'aviv, and even so, even though the father's side of the family is more Tumah friendly, still a Kohen Gadol cannot become Tameh to his father. Well, Makom she'ein Kohen Hedjit mitamei le'achiv me'imo. If when it comes to the mother's side of the family, which is less Tumah friendly, in that a Kohen Hedjit is not able to become Tameh to his brother from his mother, einu din she'ein Kohen Gadol mitamei le'imo, right? A Kohen Hedjit cannot become Tameh to his brother from his mother, then certainly a Kohen Gadol would not be able to become Tameh to his mother. Im zchisa me'adin mata malomar imo, and therefore, if we can learn out that a Kohen Gadol cannot become Tameh to his mother logically, well then mata malomar Imo be Kohen Gadol. Well then why does it then say Imo by the Kohen Gadol if we could learn it out logically? Mufne lahakish v'ladun emenu gzeir shove. Well, Imo is therefore not necessary. It's extra. It's available to learn out the following gzeir shove. Nemar Imo be Nazir v'nemar Imo be Kohen Gadol. It says Imo by a Nazir and it says Imo by a Kohen Gadol. Ma Imo ha'omer be Nazir be mosamenu mitame mitame l'nigam l'zivasum. Wait 1 second. I don't understand. All of a sudden in the past week, there's been tons of fireworks. The thing is, with everything going on in Eretz Yisrael right now, you hear it and you think it's a gunshot, but then you hear the crackle afterwards, so you realize it's fireworks. I don't know why all of a sudden there's just tons of fireworks. Al Koponim, so Imo is extra, So therefore, so just like by a Nazir, it's only a problem of becoming Tami Tumas HaMeis, but Ziva and, what do we say? Not Negia, Ziva and Negoyim, I don't know, Mitzora, Niga Mulzivasam would be okay. Afimu Omer B'Koyin Gadol, so Oichit, when it says Imo, by Koyin Gadol, B'Moismin and Mitame, V'Mitame L'Niga Mulzivasam. So by a Koyin Gadol as well, it's only an issue with Tumas HaMeis, but Nigam Ilzivasam would be okay. Excuse me, Babylon. So now it says the Gemara, Ashkechon Koyin Gadol Nazir Minalan. Okay, so we've just learned that a Koyin Gadol, what did we learn about a Koyin Gadol? Oh, that a Koyin Gadol could become Tameh to a mitzvah, because it says La'aviv. And La'aviv, he doesn't become Tameh to his father, but he can become Tameh to a mitzvah. So Ashkechan Koyin Gadol Nazir Minalan. How do we know that Oichid and Nazir can become Tameh to a mitzvah? Titania, as we learn in a Braise. Kol Yimei Aziru LaHashem HaNefesh Meis L'Yavoy. Okay, it says by a Nazir that he cannot become Tameh to Hameis. Shomei Ani Afilu Nefesh Behema B'Mashma. So I might think that it's not only human life, human corpses, but maybe even animal corpses. Koinin Shenema Makan Nefesh Behema, as it's right, just like it says Makan Nefesh Behema, the Nefesh of Behema. So maybe it means the same thing by a Nazir. It can't be around animal corpses. Tamaloma Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo Nefesh Adam Akosum Medaber. It says Nefesh Meis, and it's talking about a human corpse. Okay, so fine. So you can't come tell me to a human corpse. Rabbi Shmuel says Rabbi Shmuel Eino Tzarich Harei Omer. Rabbi Shmuel learns it out from the following, that it says Lo Yavo. So it says Al Nefesh Meis Lo Yavo. He can't come. So it's talking about human life, which becomes Tameh Ba'ohel, right? Bebiyah, but going into an Ohel. So we see that Davka, we're talking about that a Nazir cannot become Tameh to human corpses. Okay. Le'aviv u'le'imo eno mitame, av mitame u'le'mis mitzvah. And then we say, and a Nazir cannot become Tameh to his father and his mother, but he can become Tameh to a Meis Mitzvah. But now the Gemara says, one second, Ad Shelo Yomar Yesh Li Bedin. But one second, I don't need to learn this out from the Pasuk, I could learn it out logically. What's the logic? Uma Kohen Gadol Shekudushasu Kedushas Oilam. That by Kohen Gadol, who is his kedusha, his holiness is forever. Mitame Meis Mitzvah, he's allowed to become Tameh to Meis Mitzvah. Kohen Gadol, who is kedusha is forever, can become Tameh to Meis Mitzvah. Nazir shen kedushaso kedushas olam einu din shemitame Meis Mitzvah. A Nazir whose holiness is only as long as he's a Nazir. If it's a 30-day Nazir experience, his kedusha is only for 30 days. So certainly then he could become Tameh to Meis Mitzvah. If a Kohen Gadol whose kedusha is forever, and yet he could become Tameh to Meis Mitzvah, so a Nazir whose kedusha is going to end eventually, so certainly he could become Tameh to Meis Mitzvah. Lo imamar b'Kohen Gadol shkein eino mevi korban al tumaso. To which the Gemara retorts and says that you can't necessarily learn that out logically to say that a Nazir could become Tameh to Meis Mitzvah, because I could make an opposite argument, which is that by a Nazir, when he becomes Tameh, he then has to bring Korbanos at the end. Right? When he becomes Tameh and then he becomes Tahor, he has to bring Korbanos, which is not the case by a Kohen Gadol, and therefore I might think that actually would be more stringent by a Nazir, and we would say that he'd be unable to become Tameh to Tumas Hameis. Tomar ben Nazir shemevi korban al tumaso. Right? Meaning a Kohen Gadol doesn't bring a korban when he becomes Tameh, and therefore fine, he can become Tameh to Meis Mitzvah. But a Nazir who has to bring Korbanos, right, if he becomes Tameh, then after he becomes Torah, he has to bring Korbanos, maybe he would not become Tameh to a Meis Mitzvah. Maybe Korban al Tumaso lo yitama le Meis Mitzvah. I might think that since he brings korbanos as part of his purification process, so then he cannot become tamei tamis mitzvah because it's more stringent. Tamulomar la'aviv u'le'imo. That's why it says to his father and his mother lo yitamo aval mitamei lemis mitzvah, that he doesn't become tamei to his father and his mother. A Nazir does not become tamei to his father and his mother, but he does become tamei to a meis mitzvah. Or enu mitamei la'aviv u'le'imo aval yitamei l'shar meisim. To which the Gemara says, wait a second, but maybe what the pasuk means is that he cannot become tamei to his father and mother, but he can become tamei to other people, Toms, Dicks, and Harrys. To which we say that's ridiculous. Amar kal v'chomer u'ma kohen hedget shemitamei lekrovin enu mitamei l'shar meisim. A kohen hedget, a regular kohen, who's allowed to become tamei to his immediate relatives, and yet he's not allowed to become tamei, right? Regular kohen cannot become tamei to Toms, Dicks, and Harrys. So, where am I? Nazir she... Where am I? Okay, fine. A kohen hedget shemitamei lekrovin. A kohen hedget, the regular kohen, who is allowed to become tamei to his immediate relatives, cannot become tamei to Toms, Dicks, and Harrys. So Nazir, she'enu mitamei lekrovin, a Nazir who's not allowed to become tamei to his relatives, eno din shleitam l'shar meisim. So certainly he cannot. Certainly a Nazir cannot become tamei to Toms, Dicks, and Harrys. So then what do we do with le'aviv le'imo? So le'aviv u'le'imo hu delo mitamei, to teach that a Nazir does not become tamei to his father and his mother, av mitamei le'mis mitzvah, but he does become tamei if he encounters a meis mitzvah. Now the Gemara says, Ad shelo yeomer yesh li badim, but one second, I don't need the pasuk to say love of the imo to exclude, right? To say Nazir can't become tamei to his father and mother, but he becomes tamei to meis mitzvah. I can learn it out logically. Nemu klalus b'kohen gadol v'nemu klalus b'nazir. It says a general statement by kohen gadol, and it says a general statement by Nazir, right? By kohen gadol it says Al kol nafshos meis lo yavo, right? You shouldn't come in contact with any of the dead. So that's a general rule, right? It's not specific. It's not father, mother, right? She says in general, al kol nafshos meis lo yavo. You can't come in contact with any dead. And it says by a Nazir al nefesh meis lo yavo. Also, you can't come in contact with any dead. So two general statements. So there's a general statement by kohen gadol. There's a general statement by Nazir. So maklalos amuris b'kohen gadol avivenu mitamei av mitamei lemeis mitzvah. So let's say that just like by kohen gadol, so we're saying that he can't become. So just like by kohen gadol, he's not allowed to become tamei to his immediate relatives, but he could become tamei to meis mitzvah. Av klalos amuris b'nazir. So also by a Nazir, where it says that he cannot become right. It says he can't become tamei to any dead people. So la'avivenu mitamei ava mitamei lemeis mitzvah. Let's apply the same logic that a Nazir doesn't become tamei to his immediate relatives, but he does become tamei to meis mitzvah. So I don't need the pasuk of la'aviv le'imo by a Nazir to say that he could become tamei, right? To say that you don't become tamei to la'aviv le'imo, but do become tamei to meis mitzvah. I don't need that. Because let's just say, well, it says general statements by kohen gadol and general statements by Nazir, so let's just compare the two. Say that just like a kohen gadol could become tamei to meis mitzvah, so oichit a Nazir, and I don't need the pasuk of la'aviv le'imo to teach me that. O kalech l'derech zo, but we could say the following, however, nemu klalus b'kohen hedget, v'nemu klalus b'nazir. It also says these general statements by a kohen hedget, so maybe we should compare Nazir to kohen hedget. Ma klalus amuris b'kohen hedget mitamei la'aviv. So maybe let's say that just like by kohen hedget, he can become tamei to his father. That's a humongous boom. So also, I would say that a Nazir can also become tamei to his father. Right? If we're just comparing general statements, right? We said, well, it says a general statement about not becoming tamei to the dead by kohen gadol, and it says a general statement by Nazir, and therefore we wanted to say that in both cases they cannot become tamei to immediate relatives, but they can become tamei to meis mitzvah. But one second, there's also general statements about not becoming tamei to the dead by a regular kohen, by kohen hedjit. So maybe let's compare Nazir to a kohen hedjit. And guess what? A kohen hedjit, a regular kohen, can become tamei to his immediate family. So maybe I'll say, right, kohen hedjit mitamei la'aviv, I've closed someone who's been Nazir mitamei la'aviv. So maybe I'll say that a Nazir can also become tamei to his father. So therefore, we can't just immediately blindly compare Nazir to Kohen Gadol, because I can just as easily compare it to Kohen Hedjit, and therefore I don't immediately know that a Nazir is prohibited from becoming tamei to his immediate relatives. So Tamalom la'aviv le'imo lo yitama. So therefore we need the pasuk to say la'aviv le'imo lo yitama, that he can't become tamei to his father and his mother. Now, I would assume that what this means is that to teach literally that a Nazir cannot become tamei to his father and his mother, because otherwise I might think to compare it to Kohen Hedjit and say that he can become tamei to his father and mother. So I need the pasuk to say la'aviv le'imo lo yitama, to say that he cannot become tamei to his father and his mother. But interestingly, the Gemara says, and the Gemara is going to immediately reject it because it doesn't make sense. Halameis mitzvah mitame. So we're saying that he cannot become tamei to his father and his mother, but he can become tamei to meis mitzvah, which the Gemara says, wait a second, one second, we're getting ahead of ourselves. It doesn't say la'aviv le'imo in order to exclude a meis mitzvah. It's saying la'aviv le'imo to teach me that a Nazir cannot become tamei even to his father and his mother, and do not compare a Nazir to a Kohen Hedjit to say that a Nazir can become tamei to his father and his mother. He cannot, because it says la'aviv le'imo. So ela la'aviv lomar she'ein mitamei la'aviv. Okay, fine. So the Gemara says you're right. When the pasuk by Nazir says la'aviv, it's to say, do not compare Nazir to a Kohen Hedjit who can become tamei to his father. Rather, it says la'aviv lo yitama. Right? A Nazir cannot become tamei to his own father. Now la'achiv, when it says when the pasuk goes weiter by Nazir and says la'achiv to his brother, la'achiv enu mitamei. So the pasuk is teaching, when it mentions the brother, to say yes, a Nazir cannot become tamei to his brother, but he can become tamei to a meis mitzvah. And how come it says le'imo by Nazir? For the gzer shava that we learned earlier from Rebbe, that it said that a Nazir is not allowed to become tamei tumas hameis to a relative, but he can become tamei lenigam lezivasam. And we have a gzer shava that it says imo by Kohen Gadol and it says imo by Nazir. So just like by Nazir, it's limited to tumas hameis, but nigam lezivasam would be okay. So from the gzer shava of imo, we say the same thing by Kohen Gadol as well, that it's only a restriction against becoming tamei tumas hameis, but lenigam lezivasam would be okay. V'la'achoso. And how come the pasuk says la'achoso? Obviously, we know we can't become tamei to his sister. So l'chidetanya, as we learn in a brayso, detanya la'achoso matam lomar. How come the pasuk needs to say by Nazir la'achoso? Sha'alach lishchot as pischo v'lomos b'no. Well, what if you have a fellow who is on his way to shechtu korban pesach, or to give bris milah to his son, v'shama shemeis lo meis, and he hears that a relative passed away. He's on his way to do a mitzvah, right? Bris milah, korban pesach, and now he finds out that there is somebody in his family passed away. Yochel yitama. So does he go to bury the relative instead of doing the mitzvah of korban pesach or bris milah for his son? Omar lo yitama. The pasuk says lo yitama. No, he does not become tamei. Yochel lo yitama l'meis mitzvah. Would this apply also to a meis mitzvah? What if he was on his way to shechta korban pesach or to give bris milah to his son, and then he sees that there's a meis mitzvah? What does he do? Does he ignore it? Tamalom la'achoso. The pasuk says by Nazir la'achoso to his sister, la'achosu deinu mitame or mitame l'meis mitzvah, l'meis mitzvah mitame. That from the word of la'achoso, which is written by Nazir, we learn out that in this situation, if a fellow, not necessarily a Nazir, but a fellow is on his way to shech korban pesach or to bris milah for his son, and he finds out that, and he finds a meis mitzvah, he would nonetheless put aside the mitzvahs that he was doing, Korban Pesach, Bris Milah, and instead bury the nifter, bury the meis mitzvah. Rabbi Akiva Omer says, Rabbi Akiva. So up until now, that was the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael. Up until now, that was the opinion of Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva learns out these things a little bit differently. Nefashos elu arechokin. So when the pasuk says by a Nazir, it says Koy me'azir Hashem al nefesh mislo yavo. So from there, that's talking about the when it says nefashos, or really nefesh, it says elu arechokin. Those are non-relatives. Meis elu akrovin. When it says meis, those are the immediate family. Okay, so from there we learn that a Nazir cannot become tamei even to immediate family. The avav le'imo enu mitamei ava mitamei lemeis mitzvah. When it says to his father or to his mother, so then if we already learn out from meis that he cannot become tamei to relatives, so then from the avav le'imo is extra. So we learn out that he can't become tamei to them, but he can become tamei to a meis mitzvah. Le'achiv, what does he learn out from the brother? Shem hayu kohen gadol vihu nazir. That if this guy wasn't just a Nazir, but he was also the Kohen Gadol, right? Both Nazir and Kohen Gadol separately are unable, right, have these strict levels of purity that they cannot become tamei even to immediate relatives, right? Now, if you have a guy who's a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, so still we're saying even in that case, cannot become tamei to his brother, but even so, even if he's a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir, still he does become tamei to meis mitzvah. La'achoso, and what do we learn out from La'achoso, from his sister? Rabbi Akiva learns it out in the same way that Rabbi Shmuel learned it out, that La'achoso basically teaches that if there's a meis mitzvah, then it overrides Bris Milah and Korban Pesach. Rabbi Akiva So Rabbi Akiva, who learns out from La'aviv u'le'imo, right, that by a Nazir, right, he learns out from his father and from his mother, he doesn't become tamei to, but he can become tamei to meis mitzvah. So how does Rabbi Akiva learn the Gzeir Shava of Rebbe, right? Rebbe's Gzeir Shava was that it says imo by Nazir and it says imo by Kohen Gadol, and that's how we know that Kohen Gadol could become tamei l'nigav l'zivasum. But according to Rabbi Akiva, from father and mother, we are saying that he cannot become tamei to them, but he can become tamei to a meis mitzvah. Well then, if mother is being used for that, well then, how do we have the Gzeir Shaveh? So, Omar Loch, Kevin de Omar Mar Imay Kohen Gadol v'Nazir. Well, so Rabbi Akiva would say, well look, according to me, right, according to Rabbi Akiva, we learn out from La'achiv that if he was not only a Nazir, but also a Kohen Gadol, still he could become tamei to a meis mitzvah. La'achiv enu mitamei v'mitamei u'lemeis mitzvah. Well, the Mali Kohen Gadol l'chudei, Mali Nazir v'Kohen Gadol. Well then, if I know that in a situation where he is a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, still he becomes tamei to a meis mitzvah. Well then, certainly, if he's just a Nazir, he would be able to, or just a Kohen Gadol for that matter, he would be able to become tamei to a meis mitzvah. Well, Rabbi Yishmael, Kohen Gadol v'hu Nazir minale. Now, according to Rabbi Yishmael, who is the first way that we understood it, he didn't say anything about if you have a guy who's a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol. So how does Rabbi Yishmael know that if he's a Nazir and a Kohen Gadol, still he would become tamei to a meis mitzvah? Well, kevin d'shari achmana chad lav, gabe meis mitzvah, mali chad lav, mali train lavin. So the Gemara says, well, Rabbi Yishmael would just say, look, if already we're permitting a lav for a meis mitzvah, right? So if the Torah is already saying that if the guy is a Nazir, and a Nazir is not allowed to become tamei tumas hameis, that's a lav, he's not allowed to, you get whipped for that. And nonetheless, the Torah is saying that if it's a mitzvah, it's allowed. Well then, says Rabbi Yishmael, look, what's the difference if it's one lav or two lavs? The fact of the matter is, the Torah is saying that there's something that's generally not allowed, but in the case of a meis mitzvah, it is, right? If you have right, it doesn't matter. The Torah is saying that when there's a meis mitzvah, even though there's a lav, you could still bury the meis. It doesn't matter if there's one lav, two lavs, right? We're saying that these things are waived in the context of meis mitzvah. Achoso lamali. Well, if that's the case, then why do I need achoso? Right? The whole point of achoso was to say that in the context of a meis mitzvah, right, that a meis mitzvah would override bris milah and korban pesach. But we're saying that meis mitzvah seems to override these lavin, even two, one lav, two lavs. So why do I need la'achoso to say that meis mitzvah overrides korban pesach and bris milah? Apparently, meis mitzvah overrides any of these mitzvahs. So sakadai techamina kishar rachmana lemeis mitzvah nazir v'koyin de'isur lave hein hu. So the Gemara says, well, I may have thought that when we say that meis mitzvah overrides these other mitzvahs, that's by a kohen gadol and a nazir, where that is just a lav, right? It says in the Torah that a nazir and a kohen gadol cannot become tameh to the dead. But if it's a meis mitzvah, fine, so it can override that lav. Aval mila ufesach dekaris lo yitama the meis mitzvah. But I may have thought that, right, korban pesach and bris milah, both of which are mitzvahs that have a punishment of karis, I would think that maybe meis mitzvah would not override them. Komash malon, that meis mitzvah even overrides those cases as well. Ulu Rabbi Akiva. Now, according to Rabbi Akiva, michdei lo shna kohen gadol lechudei v'lo shna kohen gadol v'hu nazir nafka mila achiv. So now, according to Rabbi Akiva, we learn out from le'achiv, from the brother, that whether he's just a kohen gadol or whether he's a kohen gadol and a nazir, they would still become tamid to a meis mitzvah. Le'aviv u le'imo lamali. Why do I need it to say both le'aviv le'imo? Right? According to Rabbi Akiva, he learns out from the word meis in the pasuk that all relatives, right? A nazir cannot become tamid to relatives. So if that's the case, then why do I need it to say both mother and father? So tzrichi, I need both. Because of aviv hava amina hainu taima. If the pasuk would only say that a nazir cannot become tameh to his father, I would say it's because I would say, look, a nazir cannot become tameh to his father because at the end of the day, we don't know 100% who the guy's father is. We assume that his father is who he thinks his father is. But a mother, I mean, we know that this baby came from this mother. So we certainly know who the mother is. The father, we assume that we know who the father is, but we can't know for sure. We know for sure who the mother is. We saw that this baby came from this mother. And therefore, I might think that if it only said that a nazir cannot become tameh to his father, I might think, okay, fine, a nazir cannot become tameh to his father, because at the end of the day, it's the reason why, right, it's just a chazaka that it's actually his father. We don't know 100% that it's his father. Masha'en came by his mother, so I might think that maybe a nazir can become tameh to his mother, since we know that it's for sure his mother. And if the pasuk would have only said imo, I might think, okay, fine, the nazir cannot become tameh to his mother, because her offspring doesn't go after her in terms of inheritance. Since the pasuk says that inheritance goes based on your father, maybe a nazir should be able to become tameh to his father. So Kamash Malan, therefore it says father as well, that he cannot become tameh to his father. So it says l'aviv imo, he can't become tameh to his father, he can't become tameh to his mother. Al kol nafshus meis lo yavo lamali. What do we do with al kol nafshus meis lo yavo? Al kol lafuke rechokim. When it says al kol, it excludes distant people. Oh, I'm sorry. This pasuk is in the context of a kohen gadol, not a nazir. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So it's when it says by Kohen Gadol, al kol nafshos meis lo yavo lamali, al kol lafuke rechokim. So when it says al kol, it's to exclude distant, Toms, Dicks, and Harrys. Meis lafuke krovim. When it says meis, it includes relatives. Nefashos lafuke or nafshos lafuke revi'is dam shosam mishtei meisim. As we learned the other day, that he can't become tamei too. From a revi'ah, he's not allowed to become tummy from a revi'ah of blood, even if it came from two different corpses. Shemitame ba'ol, that it is mitame in a tent. Shenemar, as the pasuk says, al kol nafshos meis lo yavo, that he can't come in contact with nafshos meis, even if the revi'ah of blood comes from two different corpses. Friends, that was Daf Mem Ches, and also basically half of Daf Mem Tes of Masechta Nazir. We learned out today how we know that both a Kohen Gadol and a Nazir individually are not allowed to become, are allowed to become Tameh to a Meis Mitzvah. Alright, well friends, that was Daf Mem Ches of Masechta Nazir. I hope you enjoyed. Peace out.